We're going to put your two fuselage sides together, so we're going to stand them up with our formers on there, and we're going to line them up so they come out nice and straight. So the first thing you want to do is take a couple pieces of any scrap you got laying around, and you can see it on here or not, the inside line. You want to follow that perfectly. Just pin down a couple pieces of scrap. You want to stop it before you get to F7. So this is going to help keep both back parts of the fuselage right here all the way running back nice and even with the template, so everything comes out straight and square. So what you're going to do is you're going to line up your fuselage right to the very back part of the tail here. And it's going to be helpful to have some of these kind of clamps if you got them. If not, Scotch tape will work on the back, or masking tape, whatever kind of tape. These kind of clamps here work great for the middle part. We're going to hold the former sides together, or you can just use rubber bands. Put rubber bands around everything. It'll hold it all just as well. So basically we're going to stand up both sides of the fuselage. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so it might be a little awkward. But you want to get the back lined up perfectly. And then any scrap piece of quarter by anything to go right to the back. And you want to line that up. Try and press it down so you can still see here. And you want to just make sure that this is all flush back here. And then I'm just going to take a couple of clamps. Like I said, Scotch tape or something will work good there too. But you want to be able to let this thing sit down flat though. So now you're going to take it. And as you can see inside here, the sides of the fuselage is butt right up nice up against there. And what we're going to do with this is we want to make sure that the back end sits down nice and flat and level. And the back is even with this. This is replicating your fin, because your fin is going to go right down inside there, so that's why we want the 1/4 inch piece in there for this part of it. I'll stick my level on there, and hopefully, okay, it went through. I got my level pretty good. I mean, that's about as good as I'm going to get it. I can always go back and sand when I actually put the stabilizer on. I'll sand it all down after level, but right now it's looking real nice, so I'm happy with it. F4 is right where it's supposed to be, but I don't have anything glued. We're not going to glue F4 at this moment. Okay, now we're going to take the tail, your stabilizer, and we're going to put that over the back part, right against the back seam here, and this is where the groove should go. And the notches are cut out, so if you got a dowel in here or you got your wing joiner, make sure your elevators are on. And we're just going to slide that right up to the notch. This is before we put F7 in. As you can see, just as a quick check, I just went with my bubble here to see how level I am. Looks pretty level to me. So what we're going to do is going to take a pen, and just where the corners come up, we're going to make it a couple notches, just on the inside of the fuselage, just an estimated area. And that's about where everything is going to come, because we're going to need to sand a flat spot on this part here. And then when you put in F7, it'll rest right up against that, and we'll glue it right to the sides, right where the stabilizer comes to. Because if you glue it in before, and then you put your stabilizer on and check it to the back, then you might end up cutting a notch out of the back or something. So let's go ahead and we'll sand this down and then put this F7 right where we want it to be for what we've made. Okay? Okay, so I have the stabilizer off now, and all I want to do is sand a little flat spot on the front of this. So I'm just going to sand it down a little. Apply even pressure. And that's about it, really. Just want a little flat spot for it to sit up against F7. Now I'll check it, put it back on the fuse, and if I could find my F7, there we are. I'll put F7 on in there. Of course there's got to be a snafu while I'm filming. It just wouldn't be right. It all went perfectly smooth. Of course it doesn't help doing it with one hand. So you want to put F7 in place, rest it flat up against there, and then we know that's right where F7 is going to go. Even though you drew the lines on the former, even though you drew the lines for F7 on the fuselage, sometimes it, you got to check the parts that you're putting in, because sometimes your parts could be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than what the actual plans are, depending on how you built it, how you sanded it. So now that's right where I want to put my F7. So I'm going to ignore the lines I put on the inside of the fuse for F7, and that's where I'm going to go ahead and rubber band this together, make sure my F7 is straight, and I'm just going to glue that in with some Zap and let it dry. And then I'll know that my stabilizer is always going to be perfect for there, and we'll go about getting the center later. Oh, before you glue this down, you might want to just come up the back side of it, the side that's going to be facing the stabilizer, and just find the center on here and draw your center line up. Center line, just find the center, just take a measurement here, and about halfway up or something, take a measurement, and draw the center line right up. That way when you put it in up against the stabilizer, you'll see that you have a center line on your stabilizer. You can just line up those two centers. When it comes time to glue, it'll just help things sit a little faster, or set, so you'll be able to set yourself a little faster. Anyway, that's where my F7 is going to go. So I kind of lined it up with the stabilizer. Make sure your elevators are on when you check this, so you're down in the groove, you're sitting flat and flush, and that won't even matter that much right now. We're just going to get your F7 in, and make sure when F7's in there that, like I said, you just have it all lined up. You're going to make a new line in there because we're avoiding the lines that you put on there before. On my particular case, maybe yours will match up, mine didn't, so I'm going forward with mine, just so it'll all fit back in the cradle here. And then once you do that, you're pretty much good to go. You can, just to check the whole fit out, go ahead and slap in your rudder. I'll tell you, camera angle work and working with planes is a whole new thing for me. Alright, so now I'll just make sure that my rudder, when my rudder goes in, the very back of my fin comes right to the very back of the edge, and if not, if it gets stopped by the groove, you can either cut the groove out a little bit more right here, just cut the two notches out evenly on both sides of the fuselage, and then make sure your fin is perfectly even there so your stabilizer or your rudder won't get caught up in it. Make sure that sits flat, and then you want it to sit flat up against F7. So that's how it all should look. With this perfectly even down the back, if you need to cut that you can, or if you don't want to cut that, just pop the rudder off, and once that's glued in, you can just stay on the fuselage back to where the fin is. So either way it'll work. But right now I'm all set. I'm going to go ahead and glue in my F7. Remember, if you're doing a antenna tube, to put your hole in your F7. I've done that already. So I'm good to go. I'm going to glue that in, and we'll be moving on.